This box contains E4 virtual headset from DPVR. DPVR is a Chinese VR headset manufacturer, and it is actually not new to the market, but it is somewhat new for consumer market. In the past, DPVR mostly catered to corporate and educational customers. For example, they have VR systems that are able to transmit the same image to multiple VR headsets, which could be useful in a classroom environment, for example. They also have DPVR E3, which was kinda first attempt to go into the gaming market, but this model that I have here, E4, is probably their first real consumer gaming VR headset. Before I start the review, it is worth mentioning that this particular headset is still work in progress. Even though it is available for purchase, it is not a finished product yet. It continuously receives updates of the firmware, introducing new features and fixing some glaring issues, and that is why my particular review is up to date now, when I'm making this video, and it may be irrelevant several months later. Some influencers and enthusiasts received this headset half a year before me, and they encountered issues that I don't have with my particular device. That means that half a year in the future, those issues that I experienced with this device may be fixed. So this review is only relevant now. Another idea to keep in mind is that no VR headset is perfect, and this E4 is not perfect either. Another thing to mention is that there is currently slowdown and lack of interest to produce new VR headsets, and this state of affairs may or may not be disrupted by the Apple VR headset when it will be finally available for the general public. The problem here is that Apple headset is a much more expensive device than this one. DPVR E4 caters for the lower end of the budget, and this particular headset is priced somewhat similar to Meta Quest 2. And also, this headset introduces nothing new. Each and every aspect of it have been done before. And since this is a budget device, it is utilizing engineering technologies from 2, maybe 3 years ago, and the industry has stepped away from those ideas since then. With all that in mind, let's proceed with the review. Inside the box, there is the headset itself, so yes, this is a wired, tethered VR headset, which is not able to work without a computer. Just to remind you, there are different types of VR headsets. Some of them are called 3D helmets, and they are not VR headsets at all. Those are stereoscopic displays strapped to your head. They don't track the head movement. That means that the image is glued to your eyes no matter how you rotate your head or position your body. Those 3D headsets also have a very narrow field of view. That means when you look into them, you can see black space around the virtual screen in front of you. VR headsets have a much larger field of view, and if it's done correctly, when you put on such a VR headset, you cannot see the blackness around you, since your vision is fully surrounded by the virtual image. And a VR headset also tracks your head movement. That may be done on the headset itself, that may be done with the help of sensors that you put around your room, or a combination of those two methods. In this particular case, this headset tracks your movements and the movements of your hands with the controllers. You don't need to put anything in your room for it to work. Also, VR headsets may be standalone or tethered. Standalone headsets have some kind of a computer inside, usually very similar to a smartphone, and they are completely self-sufficient devices. You don't need a computer to use a standalone VR headset. Tethered headsets rely on a computer to produce the image, so you need to connect them to a laptop or a gaming PC for them to work. And also, those tethered headsets can be wireless or wired. Wireless tethered headsets usually use some kind of compression and a very, very high bandwidth Wi-Fi to transmit image to the display inside. And this is usually accompanied by quite a noticeable lag. Wired tethered headsets usually connect to your computer video card and don't use any video compression. That means that the image is better and the lag is much less noticeable. So this particular headset is a tethered wired headset. It cannot work on its own. You will need a quite powerful gaming PC for it to work. I would start with the controllers. These are your normal VR controllers, which you hold in your hands while playing virtual reality games, for example. They are made quite well. They are not perfect, but the plastic is okay. I also like that the outer rings are at an angle, which is a little bit different from most other controllers for VR headset, and I think this makes them quite comfortable. The joysticks and the buttons are okay. They are not the best, but they are okay. The controllers are powered by a single AA battery, and I strongly recommend you using rechargeable batteries. You can get older nickel-based batteries and a separate charger, or you can invest in USB-charged lithium batteries that have a step-down controller to make them output 1.5 volt, similar to a normal battery, rather than 3.7 volt, which is typical for a lithium battery. The only problem with my particular versions of such batteries is that they always report full charge and then shut down abruptly. However, in the newer versions of the same product, so basically the newer USB charged rechargeable AA batteries, gradually decrease the voltage when they are almost empty, and that's how devices can detect that you need to recharge the batteries. Anyway, I would advise you to get 4 of such batteries, so you have 2 in your controllers and 2 freshly charged, ready to be replaced. So while using 2 of them, you will be charging another pair. So basically, that's all I can say about controllers. They are okay controllers. The headset, though, has a really premium feeling to it. It is really very well made. The materials used are very nice. The tolerances and the assembly is also very good. So the headset itself really has a premium feel to it. First of all, it is very lightweight. That's understandable since there is no computer inside, so it has much fewer components than a standalone headset. That's why it's so light. But anyway, the lighter headset, the less strain you get on your head in longer VR game sessions. But even though there is no computer inside, the headset still has a fan to cool down its inner circuits, which does support RPM controls. However, most of the time it goes full blast, and you definitely can hear it, especially if you are not using headphones. The strap that goes around your head has a dial to tighten it and loosen it, very similar to a safety helmet for construction workers. As I said, this is nothing new. At least aftermarket straps with knob adjustments exist for Oculus and Index. So those headsets from several years ago already had this type of mechanism. There is also a silicone strap that goes over the top of your head, and the front part, the visor itself, is on a hinge on your forehead, so it could be lifted up and down, very similar to night vision goggles that are attached to a soldier's helmet. That means that the goggles and their blends do not come in contact with your face. The only thing that is in contact with your skin is the pad that goes on your forehead, but there is no pressure on your nose and on your eyes, which is also very comfortable. However, since there is no perfect seal between the goggles and your face, ambient light around you leaks inside the goggles. They try to counter it by introducing flaps where your nose goes, but anyway, light leakage is a problem on such a construction. So the downside to the comfort of wearing this headset is the increased light pollution. Once again, this is nothing new. I have showed other headsets with a similar mechanism, and the industry has kinda shifted away from this construction. On the front of the goggles, there is an RGB strip which activates when the goggles are in use, and I don't know what it is needed for. Around the front, there are 4 black and white cameras. They serve several purposes. The first one is they act as sensors, depth sensors that scan the room around you. This enables you to walk around in this headset. The second purpose is to better track the controllers. The controllers are of course wireless, and they report data from gyroscopes and other sensors inside them, as well as button presses and joystick controls. However, the headset still uses the cameras to better track the position of your arms, which hold the controllers. The angles of these cameras are much better than on other headsets. That means that you can have your hands much closer to your body, as opposed to other headsets where you have to stick your hands in front of you, which obviously puts more strain on them and your arms get tired. And the last function, these cameras act as a pass-through, so you can activate them to see what's happening around you, but the cameras are black and white and the experience is not very great. So they're more of a safety measure than an augmented reality or mixed reality application. On the inside of the goggles, there is a sensor that detects that you have actually put the helmet on, and lenses. These are Fresnel lenses. Fresnel lenses in VR are nothing new. There are much better options, for example pancake lenses, and I would love to say that the VR industry has moved away from Fresnel lenses, but unfortunately it hasn't. Remember, this is a budget device, and most budget VR headsets will have Fresnel lenses. They have very distinct concentrical grooves, so you can easily tell a Fresnel lens from any other. They are not inherently bad, however there is a massive problem with Fresnel lenses, which is nicknamed God rays. The grooves of the lenses diffract the light in a certain way, which make it appear as sharp, usually white lines on the image. This problem is inherent to most headsets that use Fresnel lenses. The headset doesn't have eyesight adjustment, so if you're wearing glasses to correct your eyesight, you may have trouble fitting your glasses inside the goggles, and you may want to stick to contact lenses to avoid wearing glasses while you're using VR headset. Interestingly, the headset also lacks interpupil distance adjustment, that is a distance from the center of your eyeballs. It lacks any physical way to adjust it, however you can adjust it in software. There is a special option in the headset menu that lets you adjust the distance between the eyes from 50 to 80. And both eyes are adjusted simultaneously. You cannot adjust one eye or the other eye, and this is one of the biggest downsides of this headset. If for some reason you cannot adjust your IPD distance according to your own particular physical features, that means your face, so if you are not able to adjust it, you will not be able to enjoy this headset. The stereoscopic image will be a little bit off. You may get tired or even feel sick very, very fast, and this will be a bad experience for you. That said, I personally was able to adjust the interpupil distance according to my own physical features, and I have no problem viewing stereoscopic content in this particular E4 headset. However, your mileage may vary. Behind those lenses is a screen. And please note, I haven't removed the protective film from the lenses yet, since I'm shooting this in broad sunlight, and it is a very bad idea to point a VR headset, especially with Fresnel lenses, towards the sun, since the lenses may concentrate the sun on the display inside and burn it. So you will have dead pixels on that. So yeah, bear that in mind. The display inside is a single 4K panel, and it is an LCD IPS panel very similar to the one found in, for example, Meta Quest 2. So basically, both of your eyes are looking at the same screen, which is divided in half, so the resolution per eye is half of 4K, and in reality even less than that, because you're actually looking at a oval shape of the image. The refresh rate is up to 120 Hz, which is very nice, since the more refresh rate and the more frame rate you can pump into the goggles, the less likely will you have VR sickness and headaches. Refresh rates and frame rates are very important for a comfortable VR experience. And yes, this is a budget device, that's why the screen is LCD IPS and not OLED. The downside of that is the glare that the backlight of a LCD panel emits right into your eyes through the lenses, and it is almost not possible to get deep blacks on an LCD panel even if it uses dimming zones. However, the pro side is that the screen door effect or mosquito mesh effect is much less noticeable on an LCD panel as opposed to an OLED panel. Once again, LCD panels are nothing new, and I would love to say that the industry has stepped away from them. However, very few new headsets have OLED screens, and most headsets still use LCD screens, especially if it's a budget headset. That said, I can't really complain about the screen. It looks okay, the image is okay, and also it has a wider field of view than most other headsets, which is also a plus. As for the other features, the headset has inbuilt speakers. On the sides, they are not headphones, they are external speakers, and if you don't want to use them, there is also a normal 3.5mm jack to connect to your favorite wired headphones. The sound output is through DisplayPort, so your computer video card will be pumping out sound, and this is output only, so you will not be able to connect a microphone. And the headset also has a stereo microphone, which connects via USB, since this headset connects to your computer with two wires, a display cable and a USB cable. The sound quality of the speakers is not so great. The sound recorded through the mics is okay for communication, and it is much better sounding than even mics in some gaming headsets. So for communication while in games, the microphones are okay. To connect to your computer, there is a wire with a box on the headset, and it also comes with a cable with a non-standard DisplayPort type connector that goes into this box and screws in for it to be secure. The cable is long enough, and on the other end of the cable it splits into DisplayPort, which you plug into your video card, and then USB connector, which plugs into USB. The DisplayPort is used to pump out uncompressed video to the headset, and the USB port is used for everything else. It is used to connect the mics as USB input devices, and it is also used to transmit various data from the headset sensors and the controllers to the PC. The box on this end of the cable also has a barrel plug connector where you insert the supplied power adapter. The power adapter is universal, and it also comes with various plugs which can be put into this adapter, and you basically can use this adapter all over the world, regardless of what type of socket you have. And the setup is very simple. I would suggest that you turn off your computer from the power socket just in case, connect the DisplayPort cable to your video card, connect the USB cable to a USB port, connect the other part of the cable and the headphones if you want to use them to the headset, plug the headset into the socket and turn your computer back on. Since you don't need to set up anything in your room, like putting sensors on walls and things like that, the setup will take about 10 to 15 minutes. You will need to download software from DPVR website, and even though this software offers you to have an account with DPVR or use any other social media account, this is not required. The software runs locally on your computer. If you opted out setting up any accounts, The only reason it wants connection to the internet is to download firmware updates for the headset and for the controllers. This is very important since most VR headsets, especially standalone ones nowadays, require you an internet account on some platform for them to work. In this particular case, everything is local. You don't need online accounts, and even if DPVR will collapse tomorrow, your headset will still work, assuming you have downloaded the driver software and it works on your Windows version. I think this is very important. Another important thing to understand is this is not a display. Even though it uses DisplayPort, when you connect it to the computer, you will not be able to use it as a standard monitor. So this headset is basically a Steam VR headset, and it works perfectly with Steam VR games. That's what the manufacturer guarantees. However, there is no reason for it not to work with other systems, for example, Viveport or Revive. I've tested those, and they also work perfectly with this headset. As for the experience, it's okay. If you're lucky enough to have your interpupil distance set up just right, you may want to play around with brightness a little bit. I usually have it around 50 to 60% for comfortable experience, and also surprisingly enough, I have no issues with head tracking or controller tracking. This is interesting since the previous reviewers from about half a year ago mentioned that the controller tracking was basically non-functional. Well, it is functional now, maybe due to those software updates that were installed when I first connected this headset and launched the supplied software. So all in all, this headset doesn't have anything new apart from the a little bit higher field of view, which is 116 degrees diagonal and 94 degrees horizontal. It offers 120 Hz display, which is on the higher end nowadays, at least currently, and also you're getting a resolution of around 1834 by 1920 per eye, well, in reality a little bit less than that, similar to a Quest 2. However, unlike Quest 2, you're getting a very comfortable head mount, unlike the god-awful straps on Quest 2, and you're also getting an uncompressed, lag-free image from your video card, since this is a Tethered, not standalone VR headset. Which brings us to the conclusion that even though this headset is nothing revolutionary, it uses technology from around 2 to 3 years back, but with mostly lack of competition and any new models on the market, at least at this price point, DPVR is probably your best option if you need a Tethered VR headset for Steam VR or similar applications.
I am the god of YouTube. Like, subscribe, thanks, jingle bells.